Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. 2021 feels like a blip. I have no idea how we got to this point, but we're here. Today I'm going to be ranking all of my 5-star reads from 2021. So this way we can see what the absolute best from the year is. As you guys can see, I broke this up into 4 different tiers. So the bottom one is Ride Was Great, Never Doing It Again. So that one is just for books that I enjoyed, but I will not be rereading for whatever reason. Then there is All the Feels, which very self-explanatory. Love of My Life, also self-explanatory. And then Try to Take It, I Dare You, which are the top of the top. These are the books that you will not be able to pry from my cold dead hands. I've got my coffee. Let's go ahead and get into this. Starting off with fantasy, I have Heir of Fire and Queen of Shadows. These are the 3rd and 4th books in the Throne of Glass series. This is the part of the story where Selena is really kind of rediscovering herself, and she's remembering these parts of herself that she had to block from her memory in order to survive. You meet Rowan and Manon and Lysandra and a whole bunch of other characters that I really loved. So I'm gonna go ahead and put both of these in Love of My Life. Next up is Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. This is a YA fantasy, and it's about Elin. She's a part of the Osca tribe, and the Osca tribe has been sworn enemies with the Riki tribe. Every 5 years, they go to battle against each other, and this being Elin's first battle, she's not really sure what to expect, but she ends up finding her brother that she thought had died in the previous battle, fighting for the Riki tribe. What I really liked about this book is that it definitely humanizes the villain. I think a lot of times, even just in real life, it's very easy to forget that the other side also has feelings and they're doing what they think is best. So I thought that that was really impactful, and I definitely enjoyed the story. There is a little bit of enemies to lovers in there. So I'm gonna put that one in All the Feels. Kingdom of the Wicked. Kingdom of the Wicked and Kingdom of the Cursed are both a part of an unfinished trilogy by Kerri Maniscalco. It's about twin sisters Amelia and Vittoria. They're witches, and there's a series of mysterious murders that are happening to fellow witches. Then Vittoria ends up being one of the victims, and Amelia promises to avenge her death, and in doing so, accidentally summons a demon. As one does. I really loved all of the descriptions of the food. I love Wrath. I feel like Amelia could be a little bit stronger. It seems like Wrath kind of comes in and fixes her problems a lot. I think I'm gonna put Kingdom of the Wicked under Love of My Life because there is the enemies taking care of each other when one of them is injured scene, and that trope is top notch. And then Kingdom of the Cursed, I'm going to put in All the Feels, just because I feel like it focused so much on the NA portion that it left me with a lot more questions coming out of it than it did answering any of the questions that I had going in. Cursebreaker. This is the 2nd book in the Kingdom of Runes series by Audrey Gray, and I think that this series is so underrated. Haven is such a strong, badass character. She has such a great friendship with her best friend Belle, who she has been sworn in to protect because Belle is a prince. This book has magic and fae, and it's got a lot of also like retelling vibes. There is a little bit of a love triangle, but the relationships are not at all the focus of this book. It's more so focused on Haven learning about her powers that she's just discovered she has. So this one I will also be putting under Love of My Life. Next up is 6 of Crows, and it's kind of hard to describe this one. It's just like 6 misfits that go on a heist, but they all fit together so well. I think that this story is so beautifully written. The characters are incredible. The character development is incredible. This one does have multiple point of views, so you're able to see each character's perspective. I thought it was really funny that when you're reading the majority of them, you kind of don't know what's going on. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. And then you get to Kaz and everything makes sense. Also, all of the backstories for them are so heartbreaking. Specifically Kaz's, honestly, I think about it often. I just want to give him a hug, but also not, you know? This one I'm gonna put under All the Feels, just because I did accidentally spoil it for myself, so it was a little bit less enjoyable. Next up is A Court of Silver Flames, again by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 4th book in the ACOTAR series, and I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about it, just because Nesta wasn't my favorite in the first 3 books, but I loved it. I loved it so much. Nesta had so much growth in this book. I love Cassian. The Valkyries are incredible. Also, I want my own House of Wind. It was phenomenal, and I definitely cried multiple times. The one thing that I didn't like was how Rhys was described. I feel like it just didn't match up with who Rhys was in the first 3 books, but that also makes sense because Nesta and him don't see eye to eye, so it makes sense that she wouldn't describe him in the way that Farah does. Again, anything with the Bat Boys has to go in Love of My Life. I can't give it anything else. And lastly, for fantasy, we have A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the 2nd book in the From Blood and Ash series. Oh man, Castile. Is there anything else to say about this one? I think Poppy can get a little bit annoying because she is constantly badgering Kieran. And it's not just that she's asking questions, because it makes sense that she's curious. It's just that the dialogue is the exact same every single time it happens. The storyline itself is really enjoyable, even though it is predictable, but I still want to see where it goes, and I still enjoyed every bit of it. So this one I think I'm gonna put under all the feels. Moving on to the one thriller that I have on this list, The Silent Patient by Alex Mckayleads. I don't know how to say his last name. This book was a roller coaster. It's the first adult thriller I've ever read, so I don't really have anything to base it off of. I have a full review on my Instagram if you guys want to go check it out. I will have that post linked in the description box. Honestly, none of the characters in this book were good for me. I enjoyed the book. I thought it was an interesting concept. I liked the twist. I feel like there was a lot of issues that were brought up that were just completely brushed over, and I wasn't really rooting for any of the characters. I would definitely check trigger warnings for this one because there's a lot of talk about mental health and childhood trauma, and because of that, I'm gonna put it under Ride Was Great, Never Doing It Again. Moving on to the vast majority of my reading for 2021 is the romance section. I love romance books. Starting off strong, we have Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey Mcquiston. This one is about Alex, who is the first son of the first female American president. I just kind of assumed that it was his dad that was the president, but when it wasn't, phenomenal. And there's this incident with his nemesis, Prince Henry, who is obviously a part of the monarchy, and they have to fake a friendship to calm the media storm down. I was rooting for Alex and Henry the entire time. I loved all of the side characters, but this might be cynical of me. There was so much of it that wasn't realistic, just based on what I know of the country that I live in. I like that it was hopeful, and it was basically the way that I wish people would be here. So I'm gonna give this one all the feels, because that aspect did take me out of it a little bit, but again, I wish the world was like that. The Fastest Way to Fall by Denise Williams. Denise Williams is one of my newest auto-buy authors. Britta is an assistant for a health magazine, but she wants to be a writer, so she pitches this idea to write about her experience on the FitMe health app. It's a new fitness app that promises personal coaching and also just a healthier approach to fitness, which is where Wesley comes in because he ends up being her personal coach. But he's also the CEO of the company. I really loved this book. The banter was phenomenal. Britta is hilarious. She had such positive self-talk. Even before starting the program, she talks about the things about her body that she does love. And that was such a refreshing take that I don't really see enough in any sort of media. The main issue from the book was not at all what I expected it to be. So this one, I'm gonna put it in Try to Take It, I Dare You. Next up, we have Very Sincerely Yours by Carrie Winfrey. So this one automatically starts off with Teddy getting broken up with the night that she thinks that she's going to get engaged. After getting broken up with, Teddy ends up becoming pen pals with Everett, who is the host of his own children's show. This one is definitely more on the side of insta-love. I would say it's more so about Teddy rediscovering herself and finding her self-worth than it is about the whole will they, won't they. I actually physically laughed out loud multiple times. I really loved Everett's little sister, and both of Teddy's friends are the real MVP. And I would check trigger warnings because there is a lot of moments with her mom and moments with Rick the Dick that I feel like could be triggering to people. This one I'm going to put in all the feels. The Bromance Book Club by Lissa K. Adams is up next. So this one opens up right after Thea asks her husband Gavin for a divorce. And all of these hotshot, super successful men approach Gavin and offer to let him join their book club where they read romance books in order to learn more about their significant others. I loved how protective Gavin and Thea were of each other. No matter how much they were arguing behind the scenes, they always had each other's backs when it came to public situations. I also really liked that just kind of normalizes that idea that relationships do take work, and no matter how perfect a couple is together, there's always going to be things that they don't agree on, things that they need to work through, and things that they need to communicate. And I'm gonna put this one under all the feels. You guys, Mariana Zapata. Wow. First and foremost, we have The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, which is about Vanessa. She is the assistant to professional football player Aiden Graves. The book starts out with her wanting to quit her job, and Aiden doesn't realize how much she helps him. So he ends up finding her and giving her this kind of proposition that'll benefit the both of them. I liked the fact that it wasn't one of those books where the guy is secretly simping for the woman. This one, you really get to see their relationship and their friendship and their love for each other grow throughout the book. It is definitely a slow burn. I love how protective Aiden is of Vanessa. They just push each other to be the best versions of each other, and I think that that is beautiful. So this one is going in Try to Take It, I Dare You, because I love this book. And you know what book I love more? Wait for it, by Mariana Zapata. I tabbed the crap out of this book. This one's about Diana, who's actually Vanessa's best friend, so you get to see her story as well. She is the legal guardian of her nephews, Josh and Louis. So they move into this new house, which just ends up being across the street from Dallas, who is the love interest. Again, this one is very much a slow burn. The banter in this book is incredible. The children, I want to protect both of them with my life. What stood out to me the most about this book was I actually felt represented. As a Mexican American, I can count the number of times on one hand that I have truly felt represented in a book, and this book feels like home. And it's going under Try to Take It, I Dare You. Next up is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. So this one is about Jordan, who moves into her boyfriend's dad's house because they've hit a rough spot. They don't really have any money, and the dad offers to give them a place to stay. The boyfriend is a man-child. He is the typical college male. So things don't work out with the boyfriend, and Jordan has nowhere else to go. So his dad offers to let her continue to stay at his house. This one is forbidden romance. It's age gap romance. What I liked about it, though, is that it was so focused on the buildup of the relationship that it didn't feel inappropriate. Pike was so respectful. Because I love how strong of a character Jordan is, and Pike is the ultimate dream, I'm gonna put that one under Love of My Life. The next three are a part of the Royal Hearts Academy series by Ashley Jade. So first up, we have Cruel Prince, which is Dylan and Jace's story. Dylan and Jace were actually childhood best friends, but Dylan moved away for 4 years, and when she comes back, Jace has it out for her, and she has absolutely no idea why. This one is kind of just like a bully romance. This one I'm going to put in all the feels. It was definitely a roller coaster of emotions, and it was super angsty. Next up, we have Ruthless Knight, which is Sawyer and Cole's book. This one is definitely a popular playboy meets innocent, shy, good girl. I would check trigger warnings because there was a lot of discussion about weight and self-image. There were some parts that were hard to read. A lot of ups and downs, very angsty. And I'm gonna put it under all the feels. And lastly, we have Broken Kingdom, which is actually the 4th book in the series. I did not like the 3rd one at all. This one is Bianca and Oakley's story. I love Oakley. I love how much growth there was in these books. There's a lot of character development in this last one. Yeah, again, with this one, check trigger warning. So this one I'm gonna put under Love of My Life. These next couple ones, I had a really good reading month this time. The Love Hypothesis, which is by Ali Hazelwood. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. It's about Olive. She's a 3rd-year PhD student, and she ends up accidentally fake dating Adam Carlson, a hotshot professor at the university that she is studying at. This book was just so much comfort. I loved Adam. I thought he was so sweet. Olive could be a little dense at times. It was so cute. Shout out to my friend Yvonne for gifting me this book because it's definitely one of my new comfort reads. And I'm putting it under Try to Take It, I Dare You. Another really great one. We have It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. It's about Piper, who ends up getting cut off by her Hollywood stepfather. And her stepfather ends up sending her away to a small fishing town where her real father actually grew up. So that's where she meets Brendan, who is a sea captain. He's a fisherman. And this, I went into it very skeptical, but wow. Tessa Bailey really knows how to use her words. This one is based off of Alexis from Schitt's Creek, so if you like Schitt's Creek, it has those vibes. Piper was such a strong character, even though she doubted herself a lot, and she went through such a great journey. I also love her relationship with her sister Hannah, which, by the way, I'm super stoked for Hannah and Fox's story. I love Brendan. I think he is a phenomenal human, and I love their relationship. Again, because this one is a comfort read for me, I'm going to put it under Try to Take It, I Dare You. Next up, we have How to Fail at Flirting, which is another Denise Williams book. This one is about Naya, who is a professor. She was in an abusive relationship previously. She has this to-do list of things that she wants to do to kind of re-find her spark for life and her confidence. And when she's trying to complete the tasks, she ends up meeting Jake, who is basically the complete opposite of her ex-boyfriend. I would check trigger warnings because there are mentions of her abusive relationship, and he makes appearances throughout the book. This one, again, is a little bit more insta-lovey. This one I'm going to put under All the Feels, another heart-wrenching one. Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. If you've read any of Colleen Hoover's books, you know that all of them somehow are emotional roller coasters. So this one is about a mother and a daughter, Morgan and Clara, and at the very beginning of the book, they go through this traumatic experience. You get to see both Morgan and Clara's point of views, which I thought was interesting. There were moments when Clara kind of got on my nerves, but she is a 16-year-old, so it makes sense that she reacts the way that she does. I liked the growth with both of them. I love that Morgan is not a selfish parent. She definitely puts her daughter first. There are definitely parts of it that are hard to read, but the romance that's in it is worth it, and the relationship between mother and daughter also makes it worth it. But this one, again, I think I'm going to put it under Ride Was Great, Never Doing It Again, because it scarred me, and I genuinely think about it very frequently, and I never like the way it makes me feel when I do think about it. Twice Shy by Sarah Hogel is up next. This one is about Mabel, who is very much a dreamer. Her great aunt Violet ends up dying and leaving her the house that she used to spend summers in. She fully expects to just be able to live in the house, but then she finds out she's not the sole owner, which is where Wesley comes in, who is super grumpy and doesn't really pay attention to her, and Mabel has no idea why. So they spend the whole book working together to fix up this house. So this one has forced proximity in it. Mabel is actually the more experienced one in this relationship. So this one I'm going to put under All the Feels. By a Thread by Lucy Score. This one is an office romance. It's an enemies to lovers romance. Dominic is super rich. His family owns a very successful magazine, and Allie is not. She actually works in a pizza parlor that Dominic walks into. They have this whole argument. She stands up for herself, and Dominic gets her fired, which is a really sucky way to start. Dominic's mother is there the whole time, and she sees all of this happening. She sees how much Allie sticks up for herself, and she decides to hire her for the magazine. So they end up having to work together, and you know how it goes. I really liked this book. I love how strong Allie is. Dominic really grew on me. He was kind of pretentious at the beginning, but he ends up becoming a simp for her, which I always love. And I'm giving it All the Feels. Another book that is super hyped, The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Adamas. This one is about Catalina. Her sister's getting married in Spain, and her ex-boyfriend is going to be there with his new girlfriend. So she needs to find a date for the wedding because she told her family she was going to be bringing someone. And her workplace nemesis, Aaron Blackford, overhears it and offers to help her if she helps him in return. I loved this book. I love Aaron. He won me over just by buying her 5 tacos instead of the 4 that she asked for. If anybody wants me to fall in love with them, that's all you need to do. I like how protective they were of each other. The buildup of the relationship was really good. Based solely on the fact that I think about this one a lot, I'm going to give it Try to Take It, I Dare You. The last book that I have in the romance category is Roomies by Christina Lauren. So this one is about Holland Baker, and she has this crush on a street performer that she doesn't know. She goes out of her way to like go to the stops that she knows he will be at, and one of the times that she kind of goes out of her way to see him, she ends up getting attacked by a drunk man, and the guy, whose name is Calvin, ends up helping her, but as soon as the cops show up, he disappears. So this one is a marriage of convenience. It's a forced proximity. I remember really enjoying it, but I don't really remember much else. So because of that, I'm gonna put it under All the Feels. Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This one is more of a fiction. There's a tiny bit of romance, but I would not consider it a romance by any means. This one is about Medi, who goes on a blind date and ends up accidentally killing the man, and she enlists the help of her mother and her 4 aunties to help hide the body. You definitely have to take yourself out of reality for this just because there's so much wrong with what they're doing. But at the same time, I was rooting for them the whole time. I thought this book was really funny. I loved the relationships between the family, and a second one's coming out this year. I will most definitely be reading it, and I'm putting it under all the feels. And we finally come to the end with Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe. This book is the first graphic novel that I've ever read, and it's about Hades and Persephone. So this started out on Webtoon. You can read it for free on there, which is phenomenal. This is the first 25 episodes, I believe, and then there's an extra little bonus chapter. I absolutely love this. It's super easy to read. All of the animations are beautiful. It can get a little bit confusing if you're not super familiar with like Greek mythology and Greek gods. I really enjoyed this book, and I will definitely be reading the rest of the series. And I'm putting it under all the feels. Those are all of my 5-star reads of 2021. Oh my gosh. We've made it through the entire year and I'm still saying it's 2020. If you guys have read any of these books, let me know what you guys thought of them, if you agree, if you disagree. And if you liked this video and want to see more bookish content on my page, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe because both of those really help support my channel. I hope you guys all have a wonderful new year. I hope you're all happy and healthy, and hopefully 2021 will be better. Bye!